Well, thanks, Maya. I want to warmly welcome everybody who is joining us for this evening's talk. This is being presented by WTM, or Wellness Through Mindfulness. This is a group that we created in 2015 as a means of providing teachings on mindfulness and associated topics in a freely given and offered way. There's a website we have called thebreathproject.org, and there is the associated wtm.thebreathproject.org. And in terms of previous resources, I would suggest that you check out the websites and see what they can offer. We have videos of previous talks, previous meditations, resources, mindful musing, and we have an update about what is coming up for you. So if you haven't checked out the website, please do it. And you could also sign up to get notices from the WTM about our upcoming programs. The structure of the evening tonight is that we have a 50-minute talk and meditation. Roughly at 8 o'clock, we begin our Q&A. And if there are outstanding questions beyond our closing time of 8:30, we will endeavor to answer all the questions. Again, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to ask whatever you want to ask. No question is stupid. No question is dumb. I can assure you that the question you are going to enter is what the person next to you in Zoom is thinking about. I want to extend a special thank you to Patrick Mealy, who provided us with the opportunity of joining with the Calgary Public Library. Before we would meet at the Shaganappi Community Hall in person, and now we have the privilege of working with the Calgary Public Library and offering talks on the first and third Thursday of the month between 7 and 8:30. And as you know, you need to register through the library in order to get the link. What's coming up for the WTM on January the 20th, Jeannie Corrigal is going to be talking on mindfulness of joy. Jeannie is the meditation teacher in Saskatoon. She is very experienced. She is a wonderful presenter, and I strongly urge you to look into that. On February the 3rd, Stacey Madden is going to talk about embodied resilience. This is all about how we can use our bodies to practice mindfulness and wellness. So, what's happening tonight? Well, Dr.Leslie Ellestad is presenting on mindfulness for meeting 2022 with clarity and calm confidence. The practice of mindfulness supports the emergence of our natural knowing. Through accessing this knowing, we see more clearly what choices lead to more happiness within ourselves and in our relationships. We gradually experience more peace and ease and are able to share this with others. Leslie is a recently retired family physician. She had a practice for 35 years and is now able to enjoy retirement since November. She enjoys being a grandmother and outdoor activities. She has had a long-standing practice since 1998. It's in the Tibetan insight and secular practices. She's also studied neurobiology and psychology. She is a wonderful teacher and enjoys sharing the practice. And her retirement has given her the opportunity and space to delve more deeply into this contemplative practice of mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. Leslie has been one of our core organizers of the WTM and freely offers her time enthusiastically. And I have to say that Leslie has always been a wonderful role model of dedication to practice. And so I am looking forward to Leslie's talk tonight. I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to learn a lot. And with that, Leslie, take it over.
Thank you, Phil, for that warm introduction. It's been wonderful to work with you over, I guess it's 6 years now on the WTM project. And also wonderful now to be working with the library. And thank you very much for having me here this evening. As Phil mentioned, I do come to meditation with a lot of interest. I enjoy meditating, and for me, it's not, there is no obligation or sense of having to push myself now to meditate, but there was at the beginning. So to those of you who are beginners, I hope that we can encourage you. And for those who have had a practice for a while, I hope we can help support you in your practice. And so this evening, we are going to be doing a meditation practice that relates to the talk I'm giving. So we'll begin together with this practice, and starting by, first of all, checking out our space that we're in our room that we're sitting in front of our screens, and seeing that we're safe, that this room that we're in, there's no immediate threats, so that we can calmly and confidently come into our bodies and feel ourselves sitting on the floor, or wherever you're sitting, on your chair, your seat. Feel the body sitting. And then as you feel more at ease in the body, you may wish to close your eyes. That's my preference, but you can also keep them open, whatever works for you. Feeling into the body breathing. And letting our breath open up the shoulders, support the spine in becoming erect, upright. And inviting a combination of wakefulness, alertness, and ease. Being here now. Feeling our hands, where they're contacting either the thighs or the lap. And sensing into the settledness that's available through this contact. And then noticing our feet. And the contact with whatever's underneath our feet. Releasing any tension that's there into the ground. And then including our lips, the contact between the upper and the lower lip. And then our eyelids on our eyes, the contact between the eyelids and the eyes. And then the body as a whole, from the bottom of the feet to the top of the head. And then feeling the breath in the body. How is the breath? Being intimate with our breath. Inviting calm through the breath. And if it's helpful tonight, you may want to have a sense of releasing on the out breath. This can assist in calming. So a little more attention to the out breath and a sense of release. And whenever we get distracted, we begin again. just starting over. Using the breath as our anchor. And as the body and the breathing settle, we have the option to allow attention to open more widely, to include all experience. So a metaphor is to let the mind fall open like the sky. It's allowing experiences to arise and pass away. Letting them release in their own arisings. And again, if we get distracted, returning, starting over. Every once in a while, checking in with the body and the posture. Sometimes unnecessary tension creeps in, and just with noticing it, it relaxes, kindly inviting ease and uprightness. And just noticing, how is the clarity in the mind, in the body? Can we see clearly? As experiences arise, is there also a letting go of experience? A body sensation, an emotion, a thought, an image, seeing it clearly arise, allowing it, and then permitting it to release or let go. And as we let go, or as letting go happens, is there some peace available? Some calm, some ease? And as we come towards the end of the meditation, popping in a question that will relate to the talk. And the question is to ask yourself, what am I seeking? Why am I here at this event this evening? What am I seeking? And then bringing attention to the heart area, you may want to put your hand on the heart area and just taking some breaths into the heart. Sensing into your own capacity for friendliness, for connection, for caring. And then thinking of all the others who are here this evening on Zoom together, Maya and Phil and myself, and many participants. And just imagining that each of us is in our own abode, whether it be at work, on the work computer, or in our homes. Scattered around the area, probably many from Calgary. Just thinking of one another, feeling that connection, the shared interest in meditation, mindfulness. And internally acknowledging each other. And we don't have the capacity to turn on our cameras, but we can let the light from our heart reach out to one another and feel the meaning for us of the search that we're on, what we're seeking, and that there's others with a similar interest. And acknowledging, and I will bow for myself to you, to each of you who are here this evening, and in particular to Phil and Maya, who I've spoken with this evening, and acknowledging our shared experience here this evening. And with that, I don't have my bell this evening, but that is the end of the meditation. So bringing yourself into your space in your room and gradually opening your eyes and orienting yourself to the visual world around you. And as you're sitting there, I'm going to read a poem, which is, I think, very appropriate given our weather. So this poem is called Winter Grace by Patricia Fargnoli. So if you have seen the snow under the lamppost piled up like a white beaver hat on the picnic table, or somewhere slowly falling into the brook to be swallowed by the water, then you have seen beauty, and you know it for its transience. And if you have gone out in the snow for only the pleasure of walking barely protected from the galaxies, the flakes settling on your parka, like the dust from just-born stars, the cold waking you as if from long sleeping, then you can understand how, more often than not, truth is found in silence, how the natural world comes to you if you go out to meet it. Its icy ditches filled with dead weeds, its vacant birdhouses and dens full of the sleeping, But this is the slowed down season, held fast by darkness. And if no one comes to keep you company, then keep watch over your own solitude. In that stillness, you will learn with your whole body the significance of the cold and the night, which is otherwise always eluding you. So if you're a longtime Albertan, you're familiar with our cold snaps in the winter, and usually they come somewhere close to Christmas and last varying lengths of time. This one is quite intense and fairly confining. I have been out for walks every third day. I just couldn't take it anymore being in the house and bundled up, and found a combination. And I'll give you one tip, maybe you already know this. You can put Vaseline on your cheeks, the part you can't cover, and that gives you a little bit of insulation from the cold biting winds. So it's good to warm each other up by gathering here this evening. And I chose a topic. One of our speakers had to cancel due to personal situation, and I decided I would come up with a talk for this evening based on beginning again in the year 2022. We've had quite a time with the pandemic, all of us, and here we are gathering together to begin again. And as you noticed in meditation, we do this many, many times in any sitting. We begin and we start over. So meditation is a practice of starting over. And there are some particular guidelines that we can use to have a good start, to be well started in any moment. But particularly, it's common for us to think about refreshing ourselves at the beginnings of the year. For many of us, that's January 1st. There's also other beginnings throughout the year, but this is the big one. January 1st is the big one. And so you're probably still in the mode of, what am I going to do in 2022? And so I'm going to provide some guidance from the tradition I've been trained in around starting well. So when I asked the question, what are you seeking? You each had your own answers come up. I'm going to suggest that quite a common answer to that question is, I'm seeking happiness. Why are we meditating? We sense that there's something that we will benefit from in practicing with silence and practicing with noticing our experience moment to moment. And it is true over time that a meditation practice does provide an opportunity for a deeper kind of happiness than what we normally seek in our human existence. So as humans, we are wired for desire. We are born with the instincts to seek nutrients, the rooting of the infant for being fed by the breast or the bottle, the seeking of touch, of connection with caregivers is there right from the beginning. The withdrawal from painful stimuli is there right from the beginning. So this is how we are made. This is the conditions we are in as human beings, is the condition of wanting certain things and not wanting other things. And through the practice of meditation, we can discover that this kind of seeking, going toward what we want and pushing away what we don't want, is ultimately very frustrating and unsatisfying. So through the practice of meditation, we find that there is a type of happiness that is more reliable. This is an inner happiness that is independent of changing conditions. So while we have to respect that we're working with the reality of a human life that includes some measure of things that we do want and some measure of things that we don't want, This practice helps to free us from the frustration of depending on the results of that for our happiness. So in setting the direction in this year for a more success in finding this happiness, we can rely on 4 different qualities that we already have and that we can continue to develop. So those 4 qualities are wisdom, truth, letting go, and peace. So the first quality is wisdom. And what do I mean by wisdom? Wisdom is the knowledge that in order to know what is worthy to pay attention to and aim our efforts, what we do, how we aim these efforts needs to be based on valuing the welfare of ourselves, the welfare of others, the welfare of ourself and others, and of the whole world, so the environment. And we know this intuitively, that we are interdependent. We're interdependent with one another. We're interdependent with all life on Earth, and we're seeing the results of some challenges that we have presented as the human species to the Earth in the climate change that is obvious now, that we've all lived through in the last number of years, and that is intensifying. So we know this, that we aren't alone. We can't just be seeking our own happiness or of those close to us. We need to be aware of one another and seeking the happiness of all of us. So in developing wisdom, we gradually increase our ability to make wise choices, or have what's called wise discrimination as to which choices will lead to this shared happiness that is more long-term and not short-term. And the challenge is that some of the things that we traditionally rely on for short-term happiness do have unhappy side effects. So part of our discernment is to learn to choose wisely what is a better goal to have than what might seem in the short term to be a good goal. We also need to discern which pains in life, which unhappy experiences, the ones we don't want, need to be endured. There are some pains that need to be endured. And I'll use as an example, suppose you have a health condition and you naturally, where most people would do what they can, first of all, to prevent health conditions by having a healthy lifestyle. And secondly, would seek out medical advice or do their own research, talk to their friends. How do I deal with this medical problem, this health problem? And then ultimately get some support and perhaps treatment for a medical condition. But we all know there ultimately are medical conditions that we at least partly need to endure. We cannot get rid of them completely. There is an aspect of needing to be with it as it is. So that is one example of the combination of seeking wise counsel, making our own efforts, and then the leftovers, we find a way to live with it. And then there are some things that we need to actually turn away from. So if we, for example, have an addiction, often part of the treatment of an addiction is to completely cut ourselves off from accessing that. So a person who has a struggle with a substance needs to get it out of their house so that they don't have it. And they need to do many other things, but that's one of the basic things, just to cut ourselves off from it. So in turning towards our goals, first of all, choosing wisely what our goal is, and then working with our method of reaching our goal. And then finding ways to persist when difficulties arise on the path that we've taken to our goal. Many worthy goals have twists and turns in them, outcomes we didn't expect. And part of our development of wisdom is to learn how to work with the outcomes we didn't expect when the difficulties do arise. So that is another way that wisdom builds through life, is in working with difficulties. Another way to look at this is that choosing wisely requires both our head and our heart. So we can use our thinking mind to ponder, to contemplate our choices, and then knowing certain basic guidelines about cause and effect. So in the tradition I'm trained in, we know that we're trained that if our intentions in our actions and our words are compatible with feelings of generosity, of loving kindness and compassion, the outcomes tend to be beneficial. On the other hand, if we are being guided by greed, by ill will, or by cruelty, the outcomes lead to unhappiness. And easy to say, much harder to do, because we have impulses in both directions. What we might think of as enthusiasm and vigor may have some element of greed in it, or what we may think of as righteousness, righteous anger may have ill will in it and not lead to the happiness that we're looking for. What our hearts really want is a happiness that when you get it, you don't need anything else. So this practice has that as an ultimate goal, that we can, over time, with a lot of work and effort and seeking out teachings and teachers and practice opportunities, we can find a happiness that leaves us with no wanting. The head needs to train the heart to see the workings of cause and effect. So part of the practice, why we pay attention to the breath, is so that the mind calms down so that we can see more clearly what's actually happening. And then we can make choices more wisely because we can see what choices we're making. And then we're not just following impulses, which may lead to more or less helpful outcomes because we didn't really see clearly. So next we're going to do a contemplation. So a contemplation is where we come into a meditative state and then we pop a question into the meditative state. So I welcome you to join me in closing your eyes and settling into your body. Feeling the breath. And I'm inviting you to think of a quality within yourself that is part of your goodness. Bring to mind your own goodness. And then recall what the earliest memory you have of this quality being present within yourself. And then moving forward in your life, and you think of times where this quality was present and how it affected the situation you were in. Have you had any situations where you felt this quality was, I would use the word fettered or thwarted? Something got in the way of this quality being expressed in your life in the way you would have liked it to have been. And then thinking to the year ahead, what are some of the ways you would like to express this quality in your life? Okay, and we'll draw that contemplation to a close. And then we'll go on to discuss the second quality that supports us in setting ourselves up well for 2022. And this one is a commitment to truth. And in this case, in particular, being honest with ourselves. So going in the direction of long-term happiness requires being honest with ourselves, because going for long-term happiness can be challenging. And so many times short-term sources of happiness can pop up, draw our attention, or ways of avoiding some of the challenges can come up and push us away from our intention, and we can get off course. So this self-honesty about whether it's really wise to do this thing or that thing is an important support for our commitment in this year 2022. It can be counterintuitive to give up certain pleasures or approach difficulties, and we do need this sense of inner integrity, dignity, self-honesty in order to get where we are aiming for. This is something that develops over time as we engage in mindfulness practice. We are quite commonly interested in mindfulness practice because we're interested in a greater peace and ease. And as we gradually experience the benefits as well as the challenges of a mindfulness practice, we become more and more certain of our commitment that this practice is worthwhile, even though there may be challenges within it. In order to support the challenging times, it can be helpful to do like you're doing this evening, which is to seek out guidance and shared practice with others, to read, to listen to talks, to seek out a community that practices meditation together for support, because it is a long and sometimes arduous path to follow. So this is the confidence that arises over time because of the benefits we find from the practice. So we're going to do another contemplation, just a brief one, settling into ourselves mindfully, into our bodies, again, on our chairs, upright, and in particular, noticing the dignity, the confidence that's available in the body, the upright spine, relaxed and open shoulders, feeling the breath. And when we're connected with our natural dignity, integrity, truth, is there an inner truth that wants to be heard this evening, particularly in relation to your direction for 2022? How does this truth help support your intention to act wisely? Okay, and we'll draw that contemplation to a close. And then move on to the third quality that supports us in setting ourselves up well. And this is the quality of letting go or relinquishment. The issue is that in order to reach our goal of this unfettered happiness, we do need to give some things up. And what we gradually come to understand that is that this relinquishing is not a deprivation. Okay. So in trading up, we are giving up a lesser happiness for a higher happiness. So a common example might be when we decide that we need to be a little more careful with our diet and our activity levels in order to bring the body into more balance. And so we may have to give up eating as many treats, and we may need to commit to getting out the door to go for a walk, even though it's mildly cold outside. I'm not saying you should go out when it's minus 25, but this sort of thing where we're maybe giving up the sweets and the lying on the couch longer than we should, in order to attain a higher happiness. And through the meditation practice, we see that perhaps engaging in circular thinking about a difficult topic, or that allowing ourselves to get inflamed by irritation with another human being are they're natural, but and they do seem satisfying to some degree. They seem to fill a role, but we learn that there is perhaps a better way, a way that is ultimately more fruitful for us to deal with, say, for the frustration with another human being, is some sort of self-soothing of the breath, or of a loving kindness meditation and compassion for the difficulties of being human. Okay. And this letting go includes letting go of fixed views of ourselves and fixed ideas, because in order to evolve, we actually need to be a little softer about our formations, what we've decided we know already, in order for us to be able to grow within this practice. So we don't want to get, when we feel ourselves struggling, there can be a settling to have this identity or this view that we hold on to tightly. That can give us some security, but it ultimately is not a long-lasting form of security. And so we want to open up to seeing the stress and the struggle that having fixed views or fixed identities actually is creating for us. So we're going to do a contemplation now on view. So settling in again. Coming into the body. Breathing. And then popping the question, what view or identity are we holding on to that is limiting us or causing us to feel caught up? And what do we want to let go of? And in this letting go, knowing that we're trading up. And then letting that contemplation come to an end. And then the last quality is this quality of peace. Peace is what we let go into. It's this fourth quality that supports us in beginning well in 2022. Having set our direction on a higher happiness, supports us in our quest for peace. We're already on the road to peace. And that's also confirmed by our experience of having this outcome of peace when we do let go. We have a path and we have the experience of peace itself. And we have instructions for how to proceed. having intermittent experiences of peace allows us to have the resource. This peace, inner peace that's already there but not always evident, is a resource for us as we're practicing. It helps us remain on the path, particularly because the path can be challenging at times. And we will come, as we are on the path, to see challenges as opportunity. They're opportunities to see what's in the way of this ultimate peace, what's getting in our way, what attachments, what views, what tendencies, habits are getting in our way. So it turns out that we can meet these challenges with some patience and even enjoy the experience of working through a challenge, so that we can have this opportunity to grow, knowing that ultimately there is a peace available that is greater than what we've already experienced. And when we do work our way through a difficulty, it's important as well to pause and take joy in our success, in our growth that comes along the way. So this evening, I hope that you have had some experience of that. So we'll do one last contemplation before we go to the questions. So settling in again to the body and the breathing. And this time we'll use our memory of a peaceful time. You can recall a time of possibly external peace that supported internal peace. It may be an experience in nature or on a vacation, or being with people who care about you and you care about them, and you're enjoying something together, or some form of experience of art or music. Just recalling a sense of ease and peace. And allow yourself to rest in this peace. And we'll draw that contemplation to a close. So in conclusion, we develop confidence over time in the path through experiencing peace and through the path to peace. So I hope that you have found these instructions helpful for bringing more confidence into your own seeking, that you have some idea of a deeper idea of what you're seeking and how to find it. And then I wanted to finish with a poem by Thich Nhat Hanh. And this is called The Good News. So the good news they do not print. The good news we do print. We have a special edition every moment, and we need you to read it. The good news is that you are alive and that the linden tree is still there, standing firm in the harsh winter. The good news is that you have wonderful eyes to touch the blue sky. The good news is that your child is there before you and your arms are available. Hugging is possible. They only print what is wrong. Look at each of our special editions. We always offer the things that are not wrong. We want you to benefit from them and help protect them. The dandelion is there by the sidewalk, smiling its wondrous smile, singing the song of eternity. Listen. You have ears that can hear it. Bow your head. Listen to it. Leave behind the world of sorrow and preoccupation and get free. The latest good news is that you can do it. Okay, so thank you for listening. I appreciate your attention and have enjoyed very much bringing this to you this evening. And I'm happy to take your questions.
Well, thanks, Leslie. That was a great presentation, a wonderful way to bring in 2022. So I just want to start the evening off by asking you a question. Mm-hmm. You said, and you invited our group to say, why are you here tonight? What is it that you are seeking? And in a general sense, mindfulness and meditation. And now you've been a practitioner for 24 years. And I think it might be helpful if you could just share, what is it that personally you have gained from your mindfulness and meditation practice that might help inspire our community to practice?
Okay, well, it would be good to start with why I started meditating, which is that I noticed my mind was rather crazy. I just thought, well, what is actually going on in there? And maybe anxiety would have been the doctor diagnosis, but it seemed like there were a lot of thoughts that weren't leading me in the right direction, and some physical discomforts. And I would say that the main thing that I've experienced through meditation is to be able to see more clearly what, as I said tonight, what leads to happiness and what definitely doesn't, and to gradually become more discerning as to the choices that I make, to have more calm in my own mind, to have more access to kindness and compassion, and to make choices out of that are ultimately better for myself and better for others around me. So it is a long path. I have to admit that. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, it's been a very long and at times very challenging path, but always fulfilling in the sense that new truths appear, and it's basically the center of my life now and helps me know what I should do.
Thank you. We have a question here that is very broad and very important. And it is, what is the connection between mindfulness and meditation? Very broad question. And perhaps we might have you, before you actually address the question, maybe you could just share how would you define mindfulness and meditation? And then what's the connection?
Okay, so there are many different types of meditation, and mindfulness meditation is a particular type of meditation. My understanding is from the Buddhist tradition. So it's colored by my experience of being trained in that tradition. And mindfulness is paying attention to what's happening now. And it includes remembering our experience of what happened in the past and bringing the knowledge, the wisdom of that experience from the past into the present, and therefore being able to work during a meditation practice with our minds skillfully so that we are heading in the direction of this wakefulness, of this freedom that we're seeking. So for example, the simple example, I'm meditating and suddenly I have a big experience of anger arising. And I have a choice in mindfulness meditation just to simply pay attention to the anger as it arises and passes away. But perhaps that isn't very skillful because it's just too big. And so I have a number of choices because I remember what I did the last time and the time before that and the time before that and how it influenced what happened in my meditation. I might switch to doing loving kindness practice, and then I might blend the two together. So that's an example for me of that mindfulness is more than just paying attention in the moment to what's happening. It's also remembering our previous experience. It's also a gatekeeper. So mindfulness allows us to see, or maybe a thought cloud is coming into the meditation and it's got to do with what happened at work today. And I know it's upsetting to me and I hoped I could get away from it for some peace and ease during my meditation. And so when I see it coming, because I'm being mindful, I actually can stop it at the door and say, no, not now. I'll deal with that later. I might even jot a note down or say it's something for my shopping list and it keeps intruding on my meditation. I can mindfully set it aside. So for me, mindfulness has at least those two other functions: to make skillful choices about what I do in the meditation and to be a gatekeeper for what I allow in, what I choose to pay attention to.
Thank you. Just a comment. This did bring a lot of light to my seeking. Thank you, Leslie. It's exciting to hear such simple ways to understand the complexity of my own humanity. And another comment, marvelous presentation. Question. I am new to meditation, so I am wondering if you have a specific goal in mind when you meditate. Do you decide on a contemplation ahead of time, or do you just go with the flow?
Generally, I start with what's happening now when I sit down to meditate. That I just for the first 5 minutes or so, is checking in. I always start with my body. That's my personal preference. And I check in with my posture and my breathing. And then generally I do what I instructed you guys to do, is I let my mind fall open and then just be with what's there, just see what's there. And then I have a whole suitcase full of meditation techniques that it's called wise effort in the tradition. You see what's happening and then you go, oh, okay, that's what's happening. This would be helpful in this moment. So for example, if I have a pain in a part of my body, I can choose to breathe into that pain. I can bring loving kindness through the breath into that pain. So that would be more goal-oriented, that I'm choosing. I'm not just what's happening now. I am this is what's happening now, and this is what I'm going to do. And the reason for doing that, for having these techniques, is because my ultimate goal is freedom. So whenever there's tension arising or distress or discomfort, that's a place within my mind and body that's not free. And so I'm practicing over the long term to become free. So in each meditation session, I'm doing some of the work that leads to this ultimate freedom. Is that helpful? Okay.
Thank you, Leslie. And I would advise the reader, the person who asked the question, and everybody else, if you go to the WTM website, there are guided meditations that you can listen to that can certainly help support you as you start the process of meditation. Inspired to read more poems. Do you have any suggestions where to start?
I can give you the name of the book that I've been reading from. It's called Poetry of Presence. And it's editors are Phyllis Cole Dye and Ruby R. Wilson. So I know Maya's really good at finding things.
Yes. We'll wait for her to put it into the chat.
Yeah, Poetry of Presence, an anthology of mindfulness poems. Many people have heard of Mary Oliver. She writes beautiful contemplative type poetry. There's a Facebook page of her fans, and you can find a lot of the poetry there. I'm sure many of the listeners have their own poetry that they like, and I welcome you to post it into the chat if you have some recommendations for each other.
Great. Thank you for this reminder to contemplate what is causing discomfort and anxiety. I felt more in control breathing through these thoughts. So can you just address how one can use breathing to control their anxiety?
My own experience is that my anxiety settles more easily if I pay more attention to the out breath than the in breath. That's for me. I don't know if that's true for others. I suspect there are some others who would find that helpful. So we're still breathing in and out, but we just allow attention to settle more on the out breath, and also the sense of releasing. And that is because it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's what helps to settle anxiety. It can also be helpful just to use words like calm, peace. If you're a verbal person, or an image of something peaceful. Sometimes I get out my phone and look at photos that are peaceful if I'm feeling agitated. Whatever sensory information that we can give our body that we're actually safe. The other thing with anxiety is to really just be with it. And one of the most helpful teachings I had from a very experienced meditation teacher about dealing with fear or anxiety is to say to myself, I can deal with this moment of anxiety, and just keep saying that over and over again. I can deal with this one. I can deal with this one. I can deal with this one. Because each time we tell ourselves that, it downregulates the part of our brain that's saying there's something wrong, that there's something to fear. We're telling it the opposite message, that there actually is not anything to fear. And then the other one is to ground ourselves in the body. So to feel the earth underneath us and to release into the sense of support and kind of allow the gravity, the heaviness of the earth to come up and meet our body.
Thank you. Here's a good question, Leslie. Mm-hmm. How do you view spirituality as it relates to mindfulness? Or do you see the two as being related?
So again, my training comes mainly from the Buddhist tradition. So it is a spiritual tradition, but you can study mindfulness outside of a spiritual tradition, and that's within more of a health-based or a stress relief-based approach. It's a very valid approach to take. There are classes you can take that are formal 8-week, it's called MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction classes that teach this outside of the sense of it being a spiritual practice. And for some people that's more suitable, that's where they're at, and that's what's helpful to them. So I think I've answered the question. Maybe, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay.
A comment, many thanks for your gentle presentation. I especially like the questions and contemplation. Stay well and warm. So the next question, I think really, I think that we all can relate to. And thanks so much for your mindfulness session, Dr. Leslie. I'm struggling to calm down my mind as I live a very busy lifestyle. 80-hour work weeks are my norm. Was this person a doctor? You had mentioned it was not an easy path for you to start in meditation and mindfulness. Could you walk us through your journey and how you overcame the humps as you do meditations, especially in the beginning of your journey? Thank you. I think this is a great question because, you know, we all make these New Year's resolutions about what we're going to do. And it's the problem of initiating, committing, and we fall off recommitting. So as it relates to this question, through your journey, but what advice can you offer to people, how they can start a mindfulness meditation practice, how they can sustain it? And when we inevitably fall off, how can we get back on it?
Well, most of us need support. We can't just, sit down on our chair or cushion and meditate on our own at the beginning. I personally use tapes. I'm that old that there were tapes back then. But now you could just find guided meditations on the internet and use them. Don't try to practice by yourself. Ask someone to guide you through a tape. I think it's helpful to set a timer and to start with shorter periods of time and what you actually have available in your life. For many people to get started and stick to it, it's best to do it in the morning because then it's done. So making sure you get out of bed and committing enough time to do whatever length of time you've chosen, having a guided meditation or a timer for sure to say when it's over. Otherwise, you'll be checking your clock or your watch or your phone to see how long it is before you can get up. And then to ask for cooperation or support from those around you, whether it's your dog, your cat, or your partner, your children, that during this time period, unless there's an emergency, you're not to be interrupted. And it's also helpful to have a place. So setting up what you find to be a beautiful place, a quiet place, someplace you want to be. And then it actually becomes that the actual environment helps to support your practice, as well as the time and the support from the family. And then the next element is to have companions on the path. So seeking out a group that you can practice with and teachers. So nowadays we have, personally, I've been going on at 8 a.m. with Gil Fronsdal. He's on the web every morning, Monday to Friday, and he teaches meditation from 7 a.m. to 7:45 in California, which is fortunately 8 a.m. to 8:45 for a retired person here in Calgary. So I, even after all these years, find it easier to get up and practice with a group that's practicing together. So finding something like that. Of course, with COVID, most of it's going to be online, but when hopefully life returns to it being easier to gather, then finding a group of people who want to gather together here in your hometown, wherever you are.
On the WTM website, if you go to the resource section, there's a list of meditation teachers. And as Leslie said, there is so much available on the web of teachings and guided meditations. So that may at least give you some names that you might want to explore, and then you can choose what resonates with you. How helpful is it to have a setting for your meditation, such as a Buddha statue or incense? How many Buddha statues do you have, Leslie?
I'm looking at one right now, but I don't put it on the Calgary Public Library talk because you don't need to be a Buddhist to meditate. And I think it can interfere for some people to say it's Buddhism, because it doesn't have to be Buddhism. It's just about wisdom and developing as a human being. The Buddha happened to teach it rather well, but you do not have to commit to being a Buddhist. I do have a few others, but I have one main one sitting looking at me right now.
I think for many of us who started initially with a Buddhist practice, we seem to have accumulated more Buddhas early on and need less Buddhas as time goes on.
Yes.
Comment, beautiful meditation practices and presentation. Thanks, Dr. Ellestad. Your explanations are so good, especially when sharing your own experiences of meditation and mindfulness. Question, I'm new to meditation. What if starting the meditation, I feel so relaxed, I start to fall asleep? Any tips?
Yes, this is a very normal thing to happen, very common. So it probably means you're tired, number one. So just a signal that you need some extra rest or sleep, but it also could be that you just need more stimulation. Your brain is used to more stimulation than you're getting while you're sitting with your eyes closed. So for you, you may need to breathe more deeply for a time period to bring more energy into the body, or open your eyes to have more light coming in, or you may wish to stand up so that there's more energy in the body needed for standing. And you can also start to count your breath. So again, because you're using your mind with the counting, that will bring more energy into the meditation, wake your brain up. So a number of methods that can be used to help. And even physical stimulation, you could, give yourself a little tap on the cheek. That's what I do when I'm driving and start falling asleep. So
yeah,
open the window right now. Open the window. You'd wake up pretty quick.
I've done a lot of vertical meditating, which was the guise of sleepiness. So
yes,
maybe sometimes we just need to go to sleep.
yes.
Your comments were helpful, and I will also check out the website. When I sleep, my mind keeps wandering. What can I do to stop the wandering?
When I sleep, do you think they mean falling when I'm falling asleep?
I think when they fall, when I'm going to sleep, I can't get to sleep. My mind is thinking. What do I do?
Okay. So when we are trying to fall asleep, sorry, my computer's doing weird things. The body relaxes, and if we don't have a focus, then naturally the mind produces thought. We haven't yet transitioned into sleep, so whatever is stirring inside of us will naturally produce thoughts. So one of the ways to disconnect from the thinking is to connect more with the body, and to perhaps encourage relaxation in the body. So doing a body scan, but a particular type of body scan where we're inviting the body to relax and to actually inviting sleep into the body can be helpful. Not inviting problem solving as to being the way to deal with it, because that will tend to keep the thoughts going. If there is an urgent issue that comes up or an issue that's troubling, then you could write it down and say, I'll deal with this in the morning, if that helps your mind to settle. Some people use music, so soothing music can be helpful for distracting the mind from the thinking. I don't know, Phil, maybe you have some other experience with that.
I think you really outlined them quite nicely, Leslie. That's great. Is there a regular meditation practice online that I can access during the week? So you did mention Gil Fronsdal, Fronsdal. How do people access that? And are there any others that they can look at, Leslie?
Gil has a center called Insight Meditation Center, spelled the American way, CENTER. And they have their own website, but they're also on YouTube. So if you type Insight Meditation Center into YouTube, you'll find that they have what they call 7 a.m. sits, which are 8 a.m. here. If you can't make the time at that time, you can listen to recordings and watch videos of those. I do a sit at Yoga and Yoga MCC, which has a website, and it's a free click on their website Friday mornings at 7 a.m. You're welcome to join me there. I'm happy to have you there. And there are other free meditations different times of the day. We've slotted them in. There's one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, free half-hour sits. So you're welcome to take a look at the Yoga and Meditation Center's website, and you'll find that there. I personally don't know anyone else who's doing regular daily sits, but there probably are others. Yeah.
Poetry by Naomi Shihab Nye, Rumi, and Hafiz. Other recommendations? Just a comment by someone. I hope Leslie can see my direct comment of her, as this experience was profound to me, and it could not have come at a better time in my struggles. This truly has been the perfect time for me to have joined tonight. You have made 2022 a really fresh start for me to make changes. Thank you. Beautiful comment. Very, very nice. Thank you. Thank you for your poetry recommendation, Starter and Leslie. If the Calgary Public Library offers more of these, and I hope it will, would it be possible for those of us who have attended this to be notified? Again, I hope the CPL will offer more on this. It's been great. If maybe I can take this one, Leslie, because I think it just is commenting on the relationship of the WTM with the CPL. Mm-hmm. And the Wellness Through Mindfulness group offers these teachings through the Calgary Public Library. And so in order to be notified, you're not going to be notified by the Calgary Public Library, but you will be notified by Wellness Through Mindfulness. And so if you really want to attend more of these sessions, go to our website, wtm.thebreathproject.org. And right on the front page, there's a place to say subscribe. And then you will be notified. We send out a notice whenever there's a new meeting. If you go to the Calgary Public Library website and type in under search mindfulness, then you will be able to see all the offerings that the Calgary Public Library has to offer that are WTM and other groups as well. And we are also on Meetup. So if you're a member of Meetup, then you will be getting these notices if you click onto them. So really, that's the way to gain access to what is going to be presented for you, and we hope you join us. What is the name of the fellow you meditate with? Gil Fronsdal, Fronsdal. Appreciate all the tips. Thank you, namaste. Thank you for asking my question. Having a sense of humility and seeking for support is a great way to start this meditative journey. I am not a doctor, but a new elementary school teacher trying to survive through COVID. You need lots of mindfulness and meditation to survive your profession. Thank you so much. This has helped me to reconnect, and I remember when I felt peace. This journey is long and challenging. Thank you for a great presentation and meditation. Thank you for all of the helpful information. So I think that we've brought the evening to a close. Leslie, could you give us a short summary, some pointers that people can just go home with and remember as it relates to wisdom, truth, let it go, and peace?
I'd say that what we've pointed to, that there is this path to peace that includes giving up a lesser happiness for a higher happiness. That's the wisdom component, and finding our own inner truth and keep referring to it, respecting it, and calling upon it to guide us as we make our way through the path. And then knowing that when we make the choice to let go of the lesser happiness, that we are not depriving ourselves, that we are in fact giving something to ourselves. And then noticing the peaceful moments as we move through the year, and using that experience to encourage ourselves to return to and know that this path ultimately leads to that type of peace, and that becomes the path becomes, the goal becomes the path, and the path becomes the goal. And also just to know that there's others, and there have been for centuries, others on this path, and they have walked it just as you're walking it, and that they found it challenging and fruitful both ways. So a bow to you for being here this evening, and to Phil and to Maya in the public library. I know that we also, maybe Phil is going to do this, but I'll just mention that we do take donations at our WTM site to help support us with the technical costs of running the website and sending the emails, etc. So yeah, we welcome you to take a look at the website, and if you can find it possible for yourself to contribute, we would really appreciate that.
Leslie, it's been a delight as usual. You are a wonderful presenter. You've offered so much to us in terms of your wisdom and heartfelt experience. And I think that listening to Leslie and seeing how she is able to present is in itself a motivation to start 2022 with a clear practice. So I thank you so much, Leslie, and look forward. I think that Leslie is going to present again in the first Thursday of March, as I recall. Mm-hmm. And so that'll be great to hear from her at that point. Thanks again to the Calgary Public Library. Thanks to Maya again, as she is able to help facilitate us and support us. We thank everybody who made the effort to come out tonight, and we hope that this is of value for you and that you keep coming back. And as Leslie said, we were fine before COVID. And now with COVID, we have had to go to this Zoom format that has required a much greater tech support that we have to financially support. And so if you do feel that this has been of value for you and you would like to help support us in our endeavors to give further presentations, none of the speakers get any money to present. None of the organizers get any money to present. All the money that we collect through donations goes simply to support the support that we need technologically to carry on. So we all wish you a great evening, a great new year, and hope to see you again on January the 20th for a presentation by Jeannie Corrigal, excellent mindfulness and meditation teacher who will present that evening on joy. Thank you very much.